yourself, which is great. So here is the first one, which is a drag and drop question. What we need to do, we need to match the different processes / inputs, outputs with the big processes on the right-hand side. Now, more than one can fit into the bucket, so they are just there for a representation. And one thing you need to know about the drag and drop questions, so there will be 2 or 3, in some cases maybe 4 on the exam. So it's not, let's say, super heavy. The exam is not super heavy of this exercise. It's considered a little bit time consuming. And what you need to be aware of, that to score 1 point or 1 question equivalent correctly answered, you need to make this 100%. So unfortunately, if you make it halfway correct, it will still count as 0 point. So I would say that if you have enough time doing it, if you, for example, being a time constraint and you're running out of time on your exam, yeah, you can skip them and move on because it might be time consuming. So the way we normally do this is that I'm asking brave volunteers to join me and help me to put the different, orange bricks into the different matches in that case. So quick question, is there any brave volunteer who would like to get started? So you can raise your hand and then we can go one by one. Any brave volunteer right now? Uh-huh. So in that case, let's do this together. Oh, okay. My friend Purushottam, how are you?
Yeah, hi. I'm fine. What about you? Thanks for asking.
I'm just very excited for this exercise. So Purushottam, without any order, you can maybe do 2 or 3. I think that will be highly appreciated. That will be, break the ice as well for this session.
Okay, surely.
Okay.
Project charter, it comes under the initiating phase.
Project charter, yeah, that's correct. Good job there.
Stakeholder register also comes under initiating phase.
Well done. Can you do one more? Maybe something in monitoring and controlling, maybe?
Okay.
What do you think? Anything which starts with monitor or that starts with control is definitely part of it. Yeah.
EMV.
You remember what EMV stands for? So EMV stands
monetary
for
value. Expected monetary value.
Very good. Now, when we do most of those, what do you think? I mean, if you not remember, don't worry. I'm going to kind of clarify.
It comes under monitoring and controlling.
So I would say you are partially right. So EMV, that's part of risk management where we quantifying the risk value itself. Now, since the risk identification and measurement is happening from the beginning till end of monitoring controlling, some extent you are right, but most of this we do as part of planning. Okay?
Okay.
Because what we do here, so in the EMV, so that stands for expected monetary value, as you mentioned very well, I take the probability and multiply by the impact, which is, let's say, 50% probability of something with the impact of 100K. Now I have a risk which represents 50K. And that's the number I need to ensure I can have my tornado diagram and my most impactful risks. Okay?
Okay.
Perfecto. Thank you very much, my friend. And also, if I look into the chat, there is already an indication for the risk audit, which is happening in monitoring controlling, and that is fully correct. So, Mr. Mufadal, thank you very much for that. That is fully correct. Anyone would like to take over from here? Maybe 2 or 3. As you can see, it's not as difficult, and I'm here to help you, give you all the clarifications you need. Any brave volunteer for another 2 or 3? In that case, let's go together. What about cost baseline? Where shall we put? Shall we put it into initiating, planning, or execution? You can put it into the chat if you like. So where the cost baseline is created, under which process? Haninga? Yeah, Haninga. I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Yes, and I hope you're able to get me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I think the cost baseline goes into planning.
Yeah, that's very well done. Very well done. Yeah, can you, do maybe 2 or 3 as well?
Also, I'm just checking the list now.
Okay.
I'm thinking past project lesson learned going for closing.
So this one is very tricky. Now, what I mean by that, so PMI not really categorized, let's say, past project or current project lessons. Let me show you what I mean with this, and hopefully this will give clarification for all of you. So here are the
Okay.
49 processes. Let's make it 250. I'll make it just a second. 220. Okay, so let's do this then. So what PMI say that you can have, lessons learned as an input for many cases in planning, many processes in planning, but also you can have the lessons learned as an output for your managed project knowledge. Now, it is the thing you need to remember that I can get inputs as a lessons learned from past projects, because I take all the learning from all the successes and failures to make sure my plans are the greatest and the best. Whereas as soon as I'm in execution, I'm creating lessons learned for the future. And I'm not waiting until closing to finalize this. As soon as your kickoff meeting is completed and until the lessons learned register is done, you keep writing them down in a piece of paper, something like this. And once you have the lessons learned register, you keep updating the register on a regular basis. Okay? Does that make sense with
Yes.
everyone? When we talk about lessons learned, how you can separate the two, because you remember that the waterfall and the predictive approach is all about the plans. The plans needs to be super precise, super great, and you need to think about it. We're never deviating from the plan. That's the PMI idea. So for example, you start your project with 0 changes, and the goal is to keep it as close to 0 as possible, because I hate changes. So that's why I need to make that plan so precise that they're never, ever going to need any change request. That's the basic idea. Okay?
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Let me go back to my friend to this one, because you're doing a good job here. Really appreciate that. So, whoopsie daisy. What happened here? Slides. Give me the slides. Okay, so here are the slides. Also, if I look into the rolling wave planning in execution state. Okay. So, Haninga, can you go? I mean, two more if you can.
So yeah, from your explanation, and I now get it, and I'm thinking. So past project lessons learned will go in our planning, because we are looking at our previous projects so that we can make our plans better.
Yeah, that's very well done.
Okay. Rolling wave planning.
Yeah.
That is also, I'm thinking it's going into executing.
Well, it's also by the name, it says planning. So this goes under planning, because we decide this beforehand. So this is going into planning. Now, in execution, we act upon the plan, but we need to decide this earlier and leveraging the need that we do rolling wave planning. So that goes into planning. Yeah. Can you do one more, please?
Okay. I think developing the team is also in the initiating.
Aha. Now, this one is also tricky, because if I go here again into the processes, as you can see, developing the team is part of execution. And you're going to ask the question why? Because here, developing the project charter, nominating the project manager, but does that mean that the PM is on his own in the planning? Now, the answer will be no. So there is some type of involvement with, like, I like to call it the core team, which is maybe 5 to 10 people. But even in your resource management plan, you clarify, I need 500 resources. Now, until you're not in acquiring resources, you will not get your 500 people. That's the way you need to look into this.
Okay.
Because first, we're creating the great grandiose plan, and only after that, you get the resources and get the job done. Now, real life, we're dealing with this slightly differently. That's why it's a bit confusing, but PMI completely separate the approach to make sure is properly can be followed. Okay?
Yes.
Perfecto. All right. So in that case, let's go with this one and developing the team so that we go into execution as we see it on the chart. Haninga, thank you very much for speaking up. This is really appreciated. Anyone
I
would
think
like to finish this off? So we have 3 more left: the assumption log, requirements traceability, and the tornado diagram. Any brave volunteer? Maybe. All right. In that case, why don't we just go one by one? So assumption log goes to initiating, planning, executing, or monitoring, controlling, where we create the assumption log as an output. If you know the answer or you have an idea, please put it into the chat. And also please participate through the chat, because that's how we're going to learn a lot. Okay. So we have a couple of answers coming in: planning, planning, planning. Now, assumption log is something which you have as part of initiating. Right next to your project charter, you have the assumption log as well. Okay, so this is something very early happening in the project. Why? Because all these assumptions are positive, so you create them in the beginning as much as you can. Then you have the requirements traceability matrix. Now, the keyword requirements. Now, when I need the requirements, I need the requirements to create my great plans. So anything requirements related needs to be part of planning. So this goes into planning. And we have the tornado diagram. Now, anyone knows that the tornado diagram is, let's say, planning or execution? And maybe what is it used for? Okay, we have one for execution. Okay. And 2 of it saying planning, another one for planning. So this is also risk management. And the tornado diagram is used for visualizing your top risks in terms of positive and negative at the same time. And the reason why we're doing that, because it's easy to understand for management, and they really like that diagram, which is going into planning. Now, how the tornado diagram is looking like. So in the middle, in the one hand, I have positives, I have negatives, and then you have some bars here. Okay. And then these bars are representing certain value, the value of your top risks. So for example, this can be, I can say, this is 100K, this is 80K, this is 50K, this is 10K, your top risks. And then here on the same time, you can have the opportunity of, let's say, 70K, 60K, something like that. And then because of the shape, goes as a tornado, and that's why PMI call it the tornado. Even though once I had a student who said that this more looks like a 6-pack ad, but that's a different, whatever you see out of it, but that's called the tornado diagram. Svitlana, you have a question? Yes, please.
Yes, hi Gabor. I'm curious, why doesn't PMI have anything about risk in the planning stage? So I was thinking that like risk audit would be in the planning, because it's something that I would be considering when I was planning a project. I understand monitoring as the project goes on, but shouldn't we also look at the various risks in the planning stage so that we can also pre-plan for them?
That's a very, very good question. So the way how it goes, so number one, I identify the risks. So you have your risk register. Number two, you have the qualitative, then you have the quantitative, sorry for the bad handwriting, then you have the risk response planning, and then number 5, you're going to have the implementing those risk responses, and number 6 is the risk audit. Now, so step 1, 2, 3, 4, you're continuously doing it from initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, because risk will be always an uncertainty which can impact your project. Now, in terms of the audit, it is not more than process improvement. So it's not related to your project. We're not auditing it is right or wrong, because besides the weekly status meeting you have for your project, you have weekly risk review meeting. Why? Because the tornado diagram will make it to your weekly status report. And since you have so many risks out there, simply that's not enough to review them on a weekly basis. That's why you have the dedicated weekly risk review meeting. So that's how you do it in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you.
Am I answered your question, or give you just more confusion? Just
Yes.
you can let me know.
So does it mean that anything about risk that will be asked on the exam will fall into the monitoring or controlling? Would there be any questions that would put risk into the planning stage?
Well, definitely, I would say is a yes. So altogether, I mean, you can expect at least 10 risk management questions for the exam for sure.
Yeah, but would they be all falling into the monitoring and controlling area, or would some of them be in planning?
Well, so this is spread out, and I don't have a definite answer to you because I don't know how PMI is or what questions. I mean, I know. So here is the thing: we don't know the passing rate, but we know how the questions will look like. Now, how they're going to mix it together, I cannot tell you that there will be 5 risk management in planning, and then 2 in monitoring, controlling, and 1 in closing.
Fine.
So
I
I
just
can.
wanted to know that I can expect risk in the planning stage as well.
You absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Good question though. All right. Good discussion. I highly recommend all of you. This has actually been doing a drag and drop can help you so much more, because in a single question you can foresee how the flow is going. The more and the quicker you understand the logic, the easier this will get. I'm telling you already. As a next step, so we're gonna go into the exam prep itself. But if you like, you can set up a free call with me. I'm gonna put this link into the chat. I'm not asking anything in return. We're not spamming you on, with some emails and some offers. If you would like to take the advantage, my calendar is open for the next, I think, 2-3 weeks. If you don't find the slot, ping me directly on LinkedIn, and I'm going to also we're gonna find a slot in this case. So feel free to take the advantage if that's what you're looking for. Now, normally in this part of the session, we talked about what to expect and how to pass the exam, and I would say that I'm gonna go through that on a high level as always, but I'm gonna maybe spend a little bit more emphasis on the exam prep materials, and also let's say